Dear students, welcome to the virtual class of three-phase circuits. In this class, we will be studying the basics of induced EMF, that is Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction, how single-phase AC voltage is generated, thereafter how three-phase AC voltage is generated, the associated waveforms, phasor diagram, and lastly we will be discussing advantages of three-phase systems. For generation of induced EMF, we refer Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction, which states that when the flux linking a coil is changing, the EMF is induced in it. Or whenever the flux is cut by the conductor, EMF is induced in it. It means there has to be relative motion between the conductor and the magnetic field. Either of these two, whether the conductor or the magnetic field, is to be kept moving so that EMF can be induced due to the relative motion between the two. In this figure, a simple generator is shown which consists of two poles. We have shown two poles here, North Pole and South Pole, and there is a coil. This is coil, and these two are the slip rings, and these are the carbon brushes which are pressed against the slip ring. And here is the load. Here we have shown a bulb as a load in order to verify that there is a generation of EMF. Now, assuming that the coil is being rotated in clockwise direction with an angular velocity of omega radian per second in between the uniform magnetic field, it is clear that the maximum flux phi m is linked when the coil sides are perpendicular to the magnetic field. Let us assume that the coil is rotating through an angle theta equal to omega t in t seconds. The flux linkages of the coil at any time at an angle equal to n phi, where phi is characterized by the equation phi m cos omega t. This is because though there is maximum flux being linked with the coil, but it is only sliding the conductor, it is only sliding the coil, and hence there is no induced EMF. This point is shown with this point, and this portion of this figure is indicating that this is the position of the coil. After a certain time, when this coil is rotated through 90 degrees, it means this coil is now become horizontal. The coil is experiencing the increased magnetic lines of forces. Since there is relative motion between the magnetic field and conductor, and the coil is experiencing increased number of magnetic lines of forces, and therefore EMF is induced, and that EMF is becoming maximum when the coil has rotated through 90 degrees or when the coil is at horizontal position. So at this point the EMF induced is maximum. Beyond this point, when the coil starts to rotate and it attains this position, when it attains this position, while moving through, it is experiencing decreased number of magnetic lines of forces, and therefore there is reduction in the induced EMF. When the coil has rotated 180 degrees, at that point the EMF induced becomes equal to 0. Now hereafter, when the coil sides interchange their position, this part will be under the influence of south pole, whereas this part of the coil will come under the influence of north pole, and therefore the polarity of the induced EMF gets changed. Here there is increased in induced EMF as before it was observed in this case. When the coil rotates and comes to this position, the EMF induced in the negative side is maximum. When it is again rotating and the coil completes 360 degrees of rotation, so while doing so, the EMF induced starts reducing, and when it completes 360 degrees, the EMF induced becomes equal to 0. The direction of induced EMF and hence current is determined by Fleming's right-hand rule in case of generator, which states that if the thumb, the forefinger and the middle finger, each held perpendicular to the plane containing other two, represents the direction of motion of the conductor, where the thumb is representing the direction of motion of the conductor, the forefinger is representing the direction of magnetic field, and the middle finger represents the direction of induced EMF and hence current. We have already discussed this in the previous slide. So according to Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction, EMF induced is mathematically represented by d dt of n phi, where phi is characterized by phi m cos omega t. This phi m cos omega t is such that because when the EMF induced is 0, the phi m is the flux is maximum. This is clearly evident from this part of the equation, and this negative sign is on account of the Lenz's law that the EMF induced opposes the very cause of its own production. Further, when we simplify this, it becomes minus n phi m omega inside bracket minus sine omega t. Finally, it can be written as omega n phi m sine omega t. This omega n phi m is represented by Em, because when sine theta, when this theta is equal to 90 degree, at that time sine theta, this term is equal to 1, and therefore EMF induced is equal to the maximum value of EMF, which is numerically equal to omega n phi m. Phi m is the maximum flux in the core, which is represented by the product of flux density Bm into A. Alternatively, this Bm is also equal to phi into A, flux per unit area. Here, further, this omega is represented by 2 pi f, and NBMA is written as it is. This Bm, maximum flux density, is represented in or measured in Tesla or Weber per meter square. A is the area of the coil in meter square, and F is the frequency of rotation of coil in revolutions per second. EMF induced or instantaneous EMF is represented by lowercase e equal to Em sin omega t or Em sin theta. Omega is then replaced by 2 pi f, or in other words, this f can be then replaced by 1 upon t. So these are the alternative expressions of EMF induced. Now let us study how three-phase alternating voltage is generated, because we have seen single-phase voltage generation, which follows Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. In the same way, three-phase AC generation is achieved. Here we are considering two poles north and south, and there are three set of coils. In the previous case when we discussed single phase generator, it has only one coil, but here now we are considering three set of coils. So these three set of coils are represented by R, Y and B, where R is representing the starting end of the coil and R dash is representing the finishing end of the coil. Y is representing the starting end, whereas Y dash is representing the finishing end of the coil Y. B is the starting end and B dash is the finishing end of the coil B. All these coils are electrically 120 degrees apart. It means Y coil is electrically 120 degree apart from R, and B, B coil is electrically 120 degree apart from Y. So there is an interface electrical phase difference of 120 degrees between R, Y and B. When this set of coil is rotated in uniform magnetic field, it induces EMF, but the induced EMF in all the coil is not same at any instant. They are different because of the different lines of magnetic forces being cut by them. Assuming that this coil is rotating in anti-clockwise direction. So with this assumption, it is clear that the waveform will be starting from R phase, because you must be remembering when we studied single phase generation, the coil sides were kept perpendicular to the magnetic field. So here this R conductor, R, the starting end of the coil R dash is perpendicular to magnetic field, and therefore it will have zero EMF, and as soon as it will start rotating in anti-clockwise direction, the EMF induced will be there in R dash coil. At the same time, there will be EMF induced in Y dash and B dash, these set of conductors, but the magnitude of these will be different and will be checked later on. The size of the conductor, the length of the conductor, the number of turns in all these three sets are equal. It means all the three coils are identical to each other. And therefore, since they are identical in nature, the induced EMF maximum values of induced EMF in each coil will be same, and that is expressed as per this equation. Suppose we consider that R phase voltage is reference. So induced EMF in R dash is represented by Vm sin omega t. Since Y phase is lagging behind R phase by 120 degrees, so Vy will be represented by Vm sin omega t minus 122 minus 120, because when you are assuming that the coil is rotating in anti-clockwise direction, so if we assume that Vr is reference, so the next starting end of the coil is this Y, which is going to attain this position, which is going to attain this position. It will take R's position, and similarly this B conductor will attain the position of Y. It means the EMF induced in R phase will be maximum first. Thereafter, a delay of 120 degrees electrical, Y phase voltage is going to be maximum. Thereafter, with a delay of 120 degrees, B phase voltage is going to be maximum. Therefore, B phase voltage can be represented using this equation, Vm sine omega t minus 240 degrees, or it can be alternatively expressed mathematically as Vm sine omega t plus 120 degrees. In the polar form, where it is represented using magnitude as well as angle, R phase voltage is represented by mod of V at an angle 0 degrees. Y phase voltage is represented as V mod of V at an angle minus 120 degrees. B phase voltage is represented as mod of V at an angle minus 240 degree, or it can be written at an angle of plus 120 degrees. Now remember, this V, these values of V's are representing the RMS values, whereas in this trigonometric form they were represented using maximum values. Now let us come to the phase sequence. What does it mean? If the set of coils are rotated in anti-clockwise direction, it was seen that R phase voltage is maximum, then Y phase voltage is maximum, then B phase voltage is maximum, and hence the phase sequence of the voltage generation will be R by B. If the coil is rotated in clockwise direction, then R phase voltage is going to be maximum, then B phase voltage will be maximum, and thereafter Y phase voltage is going to be maximum. All these rotor conductors, rotor coils are, or armature coil is kept in the slot of the rotor. These slots are on the outer periphery of the rotor. In case of small generator, the magnetic field is stationary, whereas the armature or the rotor winding is, or armature winding is kept rotating. But in case of large generators, where it is a large generator of several megawatt, let's say thermal generator or hydro generator, the magnetic field is kept moving, the magnetic field is kept rotating, whereas the armature field is kept stationary. Now this figure shows the graphical representation of voltages. Those are induced in all the three set of coils represented by VR, Vy and Vb. Since we have taken R phase voltage as reference, so at omega t equal to 0 degree, the EMF induced in R phase is 0, and then it starts to build up. VR is maximum at omega t equal to pi by 2. It becomes equal to 0 at omega t equal to pi. It becomes equal to negative maximum at omega t equal to 2 pi by 3, and it becomes equal to 0 at 2 pi. When the voltage across R phase coil was building up at that time, there was some voltage in B phase and Y phase also. Since there is a phase difference, electrical phase difference of 120 degrees, so we start showing Y phase voltage after a delay of 120 degree from the reference or from VR. So Y phase voltage will start building up from this point, and it will follow the same nature of variation because the coils are identical, they have equal number of turns. It doesn't mean that Vy was equal to 0 when VR was developing its voltage. Since it is a periodic process, it is the periodic voltage, so it is seen that Vy was having some negative value when VR was developing at its initial stage. At the same time, if I consider B phase voltage which has started after a delay of say 120 degree, it also follows the same variation, but since it being periodic, so it was also there when VR was inducing its voltage, when Vy was inducing its voltage. So all the three phase voltages were induced simultaneously, but their magnitudes were different. These waveforms have been drawn with an assumption that the coil in the previous figure of three-phase generator was rotating in anticlockwise direction and the phase sequences RYB. The same is shown here using phasor diagram. R phase voltage is taken as reference, means it is drawn parallel to x-axis. Y phase voltage lags behind R phase voltage by 120 degrees and B phase voltage is lagging behind R phase voltage by 1 by 240 degrees, or in other words it can be said that B phase voltage leads R phase voltage by 120 degrees. So at any instant, if you want to add them up, if you want to add them up, say at this instant, if I want to add this maximum VR with Vy and Vb, so mathematically it has been found that the addition of Vb and addition of Vy is equal to the negative of Vr, and therefore the total voltage at any instant when added together Vr plus Vy plus Vb, when these are vectorially added, the summation is equal to 0. This is also evident from this figure, which is shown through the phasor addition. R phase voltage is drawn as it is. Then Y phase voltage phasor is added at the tip of VR. B phase voltage is added at the tip of Vy, and B phase voltage, it touches the beginning of R phase voltage phasor, which indicates that the total voltage, the addition of all these three instantaneous voltage is equal to 0. It is to be noted that these values of voltages which are represented in the phasor diagram, these are the RMS values. These are the RMS values, whereas in waveform it is shown by the instantaneous values, because at every instant the voltage magnitude is changing with the time. So this VR reference can be represented using mod of V at an angle 0 degrees. Vy can be represented by using this equation, mod of V at an angle minus 120 degrees, and B phase voltage is represented using mod of V at an angle minus 240 degrees. So when we add them up, or if V is taken common and all these angles, these are represented at an angle of say magnitude of 1 at an angle 0 degree plus magnitude of 1 at an angle minus 120 degree plus magnitude of 1 at an angle minus 240 degrees. So when we convert them into the rectangular form, means A plus JB form, so it gives us this values: 1 minus 0.5 minus J 0.866 minus zero point 0.5 plus J 0.866. So when we add them together, the result is 0. Now let us come to the last part of this lecture, that is advantages of three-phase system over single phase system. Three-phase system is universally adopted due to the following advantages. The very first reason is the amount of conductor that is required for three-phase system is less as compared to that is required for a single phase system. Similarly, there are several other advantages of replacing a three-phase transformer by three single phase units of single phase transformer. That is also one of the advantages that you can list over here in this slide. The amount of conductor material required that will be shown through the next slide, where I'll be showing each of the load individually and how many number of conductors are required if they are fed by a single phase supply, and then we'll supply same load using three phase system, and then we will count how many number of conductors are required. Second important advantage of three phase system is that three phase induction motors are self-starting, whereas single phase motors are not. Yes, this is one of the drawback of single phase system, because the single phase motors are not self-starting. In order to make them self-starting, a special arrangement is to be made in the form of adding an auxiliary winding with the main winding, and thereby it creates rotating magnetic field, to which the rotor tries to catch the revolving magnetic field, and therefore it rotates. So there is a special arrangement required in case of single phase induction motor, but it is not required in case of three phase induction motor, and therefore it is said that three phase induction motors are self-starting, whereas single phase motors are not self-starting. Next advantage is three phase system can be used for high power transmission using extra high voltage EHV towers. You must have seen these towers while traveling in bus, while traveling in train. All these EHV towers, extra high voltage towers, they are able to carry, they are able to handle lot of power in terms of several megawatts. And the last and the most important advantage of three-phase system is the voltage regulation and efficiency is better than single phase system. Efficiency here is the meaning that output by input multiplied by 100, that is percentage efficiency is higher in case of three phase system, but it is not so in case of single phase system. Ultimately it depends on load, ultimately it depends on what application you are dealing with and how you are calculating the efficiency. Then voltage regulation is the term which is uh, very popular in case of electrical engineering. It is the difference in voltage from no load to full load, and that difference is expressed as the percentage of the full load voltage. There are various definitions of voltage regulation. Those can be voltage regulation up or voltage regulation down. We are not going into the detail of those now, but the meaning is the change in voltage from no load to full load in case of three phase is very less as compared to single phase system. Now let us understand the feeding of single phase load and feeding of a three phase load. Here we are showing three independent loads. Three independent loads which are being supplied by each individual phase R, Y and P. If I consider that these loads are balanced or unbalanced, balanced means the equal load, unbalanced means the magnitude of the load, that is the impedance of the load 1, load 2 and load 3, they are not equal. But in case of balanced load, they are all equal. We'll discuss the balanced and unbalanced load in later part of the lecture in my next videos. Now in order to feed this load 1, you need one conductor to feed it and the other conductor as a return path for this load. Similarly, it requires two conductors for load 2 and two conductors for load 3. It means all the loads they need neutral wire for the current which is coming back to the source. If the neutral of all these load is tied together, if the neutral of all these load is tied together at this point, you need only one conductor as a return path for the current. So the loads which were fed by the loads which were fed by 6 number of conductor can also be fed by using only 4 number of conductors. And if the load is perfectly balanced, then you don't need this fourth conductor also. So the load can be fed by using only 3 conductors. So there is a considerable saving in copper, considerable saving in the voltage drops and power loss as well. So in this lecture, we have studied the basics of power generation, single phase, three phase. We have studied the waveforms, phasor diagram, and advantages of three phase systems. Thank you.